Hi, my name is Myrna Bittner. I'm CEO and co-founder of RUNWITHIT Synthetics. We're a Canadian-based company who does business internationally, and in December of last year, we actually released a synthetic earth. So I'll love hearing more about the IEEE standards that are being built. What I'm here to show today is an application in synthetic twinning, or which is kind of the next level of digital twinning, and its applications, of which there are many. But this is one application that has particularly to do with electrification in the face of climate change and other climate conditions. So the reason why synthetic twinning for us has become so important and so useful to many decision makers and leaders is that really there is this unprecedented nature of the future, and that this is where many of the opportunities live when they're looking at everything from building communities to infrastructure investment to even technological deployment. And that understanding the context that includes people in these calculations and engineering and infrastructure projects is really important. As well, how we can make things that are previously invisible in these systems visible so that they can be quantified and measured and considered. And that data continues to be a real confounding factor, and along with collaboration. So the previous speaker mentioned engagement, which is really important and to be able to advance some of these solutions. In this particular city and group of cities in Western Canada, wildfire has become a significant part of what are considered acute and chronic climate events. So it's changing the way people live. It's changing their relationship with not only different services, but also health, environment, and most importantly, in this case, was the examination of how it changes their relationship to energy, of which all of these things change the way they live in their home and the way they consume energy and the way they respond to air quality. So when you not only take a geospatial or a object-oriented perspective of the Earth and its regions, this enables you to add in dimensions such as time, dimensions such as context, and really importantly, the sixth dimension we feel is people. So being able to understand that relationship and that interplay. This is an example. This is the synthetic twin of that city in just visual representation and tool navigation. What's included in this city as we go forward and begin to inflect or manipulate those aspects is really a series of interconnected models. So these models can be appropriate for different types of entities that we're creating in these environments. They can be, again, physical system models. They can be statistical or probabilistic models. They can also be programmatic models. So there's a whole range of different models, from very simplistic to very complex. And complex meaning when you get to the entities or agentic models, where the models are actually learning reactive responsive, such as populations. And it enables us to not only look at system solving or at system operation, but system seeing. So we can take a step back and we can begin to look at the interplay between data that's everything from anecdotal to research-based, along with trends that we can adjust or forecasts that we can manipulate, and then being able to actually see it in operation. And here's an example in this city, which is in Western Canada, again, synthetic Calgary. So we're looking at synthetic populations. We're looking at synthetic households. We're able to see the data points on those households, everything from the income to the footprints, to how they use and consume energy on a very detailed basis. So energy changes with the envelopes of homes, changes with their sale price, their footprint, their building envelope, also with how people inside the homes use or consume energy, whether they are sensitive to time of day pricing, whether they are leaving their air conditioners on while they're away at work or not. And it allows us to then create a world that is inflectable, that is sandboxable, so we can begin to look at different target rates of adoptions of electrified appliances, of electric vehicles, and begin to have those conversations that are really important when it comes to, what do we need in terms of the grid or in terms of energy management. And when you have synthetic populations or people that are involved in these environments, you also begin to see that there's different attitudes towards energy. So we can include psychographics and the psychographic response to different conditions that we introduce. And it can be quite significant. So how people think about energy or use or consume different types of appliances, depending on their psychographics and value graphics, will change dramatically where those grid impacts are seen and felt and how they consume technology over time. And so when we look at things like, and we can segment populations and we can place those in homes, you can see that their patterns of behavior and energy consumption differ dramatically. And then when we put this back into a twin and we dial forward scenarios and we dial forward populations, we begin to see also that, not only is it how the user consume energy, but even time of day. And we can segment these and look at, the forward practice and areas of concern, in the future and just when that is going to happen. And then not only is in this area is, heat events and acute climate change in the summer a problem, but also we're looking at an area that cools significantly and have cold snaps and events. So when we're looking to electrify our heating, for example, heat pumps, we can actually virtually deploy heat pumps in the households that are able to make those types of energy decisions and look at, actually the same areas of the grids that are going to be having issues with EV adoption in the future are also going to be having issues when it comes to the electrification of heat pumps. And then we can add in things like wildfire. So in this area, again, there's significant fire in the summers. The season has gotten longer, and I think there was 299 what they consider smoke days or smoke hours. And this has created an extraordinary air quality issue, which means that indoor air quality is really important as fire particles and PM 2.5 are far more destructive and harmful to human health. And it happens at the same time as heat events in the summer. So again, we're looking at, now really intensely, what are the capabilities for people to adopt different air quality and air cooling technologies in their home? What are the energy envelopes and of their buildings? What are the technologies adding to the load curves of each one of those buildings? And how do those people, given their demographics and psychographics, consume those different technologies? And for here, the number of hot days, again, continues to increase on the very right-hand side. You'll see that dramatic uptick. And as well, it's projected to increase by 3 times in the near future. And so air conditioning, which hasn't been significantly adopted in this city, suddenly becomes a critical measure because you're going to have people who are trapped inside of their homes during wildfire smoke events, and that this is going to significantly impact the energy consumption in the grid. But when it comes down to it, and you can look at in great detail, how these technologies are used and consumed, you can also look at, the impact of those technologies based on the footprint. So am I cooling my whole home, or am I using smaller air conditioning units that are temporary to cool a smaller footprint? And as it turns out, sometimes the differences, while being dramatic in how they are cooling their homes and what they have access to, the energy load turns out to be quite similar in older or newer neighborhoods. This same approach then in these synthetic twins and using synthetic modeling can be used to look at where health facilities need to be located and how people access them, where those sensors, devices, and investments in air quality sensors are today and where they need to be to relate to even the health impacts in the community. And then really some interesting applications, again, when you can synthesize these sandboxes for looking at resilience in a broader lens. So community hubs, how people access those community hubs, and how even the social or health impact data can be used to in things like cold snaps, where cold snaps are really an endangerment, can be used to define where those community investments need to be. And that's it for me. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Our next question, next three, Myrna, for yourself, if I may, is what ontology are you using behind your model?
So there are many models and many ontologies. So when you look at a world that involves, not only physical systems that you're interconnecting within physics-based systems, that you're interconnecting with learning reactive responsive entities such as synthetic populations. We break down every interconnect. It's entirely explainable. So we use research and findings and previous correlations and causation to be able to connect those models in that universe and be able to bring that to life. So it's vast.
Very good. And can I ask you another question here? Can you comment on how you created or got access to the synthetic data and to what extent it's representative of the real world?
Yeah, so synthetic data is a big field. Most commonly known is visual synthetic data generation and application. There's other data that's considered synthetic because it's de-identified. We actually describe synthetic data as generated. And so, for us, we generate our data. We have, of course, access to all different kinds of publicly available data sets. When it comes to the world and the built environment, we work with research institutes that do a lot of publishing of data sets like NOAA and FEMA and NERC and other national research institutes. And so we combine or converge those data sets, and then we begin to build an entity world. So turn those into living models on top of that. And yes, it is geospatially accurate. I would describe the built environment as we don't focus on hyperrealism, but we focus on the accuracy of the data of that built environment.